Okay, so FOMC is out. Pretty much dovish reaction. Very good for the commodities, for everything, risk on, risk off, to be honest. Dollar down, yields sideways, but gold is just running at new all-time highs. Overnight there, I wake up and we hit 2,222, some almost a religious number. Just amazing, amazing continuation. The miners are really starting to generate some steam. So we're going to look at the charts. Now, Powell was saying just on hold for the rates, but he was a little extra dovish, I would say, in the comments, saying he didn't really care about inflation. I think the inflation fight is lost. I just think what Peter Schiff says is correct. Listen to him. So I don't want to spend too long on this video, so just listen to him. I haven't even listened to the latest podcast. I just woke up. Now let's look at the charts. DXY, by the way, was up just before the day before. So, and that's because of the Japanese yen. There's another story going on there. You wouldn't think I'd start the podcast like that, but look at what happens. US dollar, Japanese yen. Look at this strong chart. That looks like it wants to break out and run. So dollar does not have the weakest of fundamentals maybe, but the weakest you know recent background to it, because look at this. This looks like it wants to go higher. So that should provide a bit of a floor to the DXY. We'll look at the DXY in a second, but this chart is worth noting. This looks like it wants to go up. It looks like the gold chart before we started to break out. So for me, that's super strong. Look at these candles. And this could break the system on its own. Banking crisis, Japanese crisis, there are fractures all over the system. So watch out there. But let's look at the DXY. That made the DXY a little extra strong here on the retrace. I didn't think it would go all the way up here. It did. Now, overall, we've still got this long-term or medium-term, long-term descending. It hasn't broken out of that. When it does, it can start to look a bit more bullish. But after the FOMC, we closed at low of day. Now it looks like it kind of wants to go down here. But we've got this pennant, right? This ascending, this descending. Let's just wait for it to close above or below one of those. I don't know what I favor. You would say a drop below, but this US dollar, Japanese yen could break something. The banking, I don't know. It's not that obvious to me. But for now, we should go low and should retest this. But regardless, gold and the miners are going up regardless of the DXY. And that's the best thing possible, because we're at new all-time highs in gold. We're running, there's no ceiling. You can only use Fibonacci's to guess where you'd retrace from, but probably just big round numbers like 2,500. But imagine where gold will be once the DXY is down in the low 90s, or how about flushing to the 70s in a few years? Like those 5,000, 10,000 numbers in gold, they do not seem too preposterous anymore. So DXY down, but not very, very bearish because of the general chart, but also other factors. And the Japanese yen is worth mentioning. Okay, yields, they were not that bearish either, especially the longer out ones. 30-year, look at that, just sort of sideways, sideways, not really bearish at all, not even a red candle. 10-year, bit more of a drop, but closed above the low of day. 5-year gets a bit weaker. 2-year, even more weaker. You can think the 2 years probably going to go down here, test the old lows. Well, not old lows, but this 4.5 or a bit lower, 4.4. Those are two lines that worked perfectly before. So I think maybe we go a bit lower, but not very bearish either, a bit like the DXY. You know what I mean? So it's not typical yields down, dollar down, gold up. And I think that's even better. And I think that's more realistic, with inflation and the problems we have in the world. So DXY holds down a little bit, yields hold down a little bit, but probably long term, especially yields could go higher. And that would make a bit of sense, with inflation and the debt problems, a greater yield is required. And gold going up with that, I think historically makes sense and definitely makes an even more bullish case for us, because imagine yields start to drop finally, gold will go even higher. So it's really perfect storm for commodity people like us. Now, very quickly, copper, look at this, breaks out, holds, wants to go higher finally, right? Closing above 4 and running. That makes sense. I'll cover this more in a commodities related video, but the other metals are going up too. I won't really cover natural gas. That's just hanging off its lows. Needs to go a bit higher. Oil, still holding firm in its own little pennant, should break out of this and then run to 95. That will go up with inflation, or it's causing inflation, however you want to see it. Uranium, that should probably go test this old high 29.5. But I really want to cover the metals today, specifically gold, silver, and the miners. Look at this. You know, we popped up, we touched this high, we squeezed, we retraced. And where did we retrace from when we made that big high like 1 or 2 weeks ago, 21, almost 2200? We retraced the first level of support, which was, you know, the highest resistance point. Remember this squeeze over here that we had to recover from? And then we broke out the descending, my favorite breakout, and we just squeezed up again yesterday. We just touched 2150. We didn't even go down to 2080, which would have still been super bullish and healthy. We can't stop going up. Like the strength is unbelievable. This is all central bank buying mainly. And now we've got retail starting to come in, I think, or we should, or more institutional investors, because this should start making headlines here. So we hit 2150, we consolidate a little bit, and again, did the descending breakout and continuation overnight, actually hitting 2222 or something. Beautiful number. I like that. And where do we go to now? I don't know. I don't care. Just keep going up. Get the miners to follow. Silver will now drag. We don't need to drag gold up. Gold's been dragging everyone else up, but silver will now be the catalyst, I think. So this is just perfect. No resistance, just 2500, something like that. 2300, just big round numbers. Let's do 2300, 2400, 2500. What do we have in silver? Silver's still not even close above 26, but now it's making its way to 26. Is 26 going to be resistance? No, it's not. Because every other time, you know, yeah, it's strong resistance. There's a reason to go down. This time, there's a reason to go up. You know, gold is at new all-time highs daily. There's no resistance. There's the fundamental reasons, the technical reasons, the psychological reasons. For me, we go up. We close about 26. We touch 27. We spend 30 minutes having tea and biscuits at 27. We go to 28. We'll retrace a little bit, some back and fill gold. By then, we'll be at 2300 or 2250, which it will probably do today. You know, there'll be small retraces, but the point is we're going to go close above 26. We're going to visit 28, and we're going to start touching 30, and we'll retrace from 30, of course. 30 will be a bit like 26 over here. I think it's a big number. We'll have some retracement, but hopefully it's at 28, and then we just immediately go higher, because after 30, it's 40, 50. I'll be making more videos after 30, but I really think this is the time that 26 does not act as strong resistance. And maybe today is the day. So silver, very nice. By the way, platinum, palladium, all the way down to their lows and finally coming out, a bit like copper before. And so I think platinum and palladium will also start to do some serious catching up, at least go to the next serious level of resistance. So 1250 palladium, platinum, maybe all the way up here. I mean, it should happen, right? At least test major descending resistance. But gold has just done such a good job, and now it's silver's turn. The miners, they finally are starting to act very strong. Look at that. Bullish engulfing candles across the miners. Big, you know, 4-5% days. GDXJ, 5%. Close above resistance. And by the way, where did they base from? Where was their support? That was the equivalent of 2115 gold. So for GDXJ, it was 3550. Close there. Next is like a 6% move to 40. I don't care. That's it. We're going to 40. GDXJ, it should really happen this week. And that's what I have to say about that. SILJ, same thing. Where was its 2150 base for a gold equivalent? $9. Where did it close? Higher than all the others. It touched perfectly. It's amazing. I love these little levels when they work perfectly, and you can see why I had them. So 975, let's say. Next stop is all the way up here. But by the way, by getting there, which is probably how much of a move is that from where we are? 10%. Yeah, no problem. We can do that. But by closing or testing at 1050, we will most likely close above this descending, this long-term descending, which means, you know, we're going to continue. Next up after that is 12. After that, it's going to be 15. And then we go to 18. 18, by the way, is 100% of where we are now. And right now, we're at gold new time high. So it's just beginning. And let's look at GDX. I mean, they're all the same, right? They're just big, bullish. Where do they base? So this was roughly just low 29s would have been the 2150 level in gold. Didn't close up. It didn't close up sort of new highs from the recent trading, but it doesn't matter. We're going to have a big continuation today, I think. and GDX will ultimately go and test it sort of above 32 zone, 32 or 32 higher. And we've got so many levels to go up from there. I mean, just remember where we are, right? Look at GDXJ, by the way. I like this. Look at that. We're down here. Now, one thing about the actual miners, I'm not going to go through my portfolio because this is supposed to be a short video, but look where they are. Newmont, we're going to go much higher. This is something you hold for months. I'm very happy with. I'm very heavily in miners right now. I've almost never been as heavily invested as I am now, especially now that they're going up and the value is starting to really increase. So I'm very heavily in. I've still got about 20% sidelines. I always need some sidelines to dream well at night or to sleep well at night, because in case something happens, I've got liquidity there to add. So, but for me, I'm kind of all in because I don't want to go below 20%. Now, I did chase one stock, I am gold. I'm very happy I did that. This is one I wanted, to be honest, over here at breakout zone, but I wasn't sure because I was already heavily in and I wanted the extra confirmation. Now I've got all the confirmation I need. Thankfully, I bought before FOMC. I bought half before FOMC for this big tranche I wanted. I bought at 295, 294. And then I bought after. I thought, nah, I've got the confirmation. I bought at 307. So, well, whatever, average $3, it doesn't really matter. But I just, because I wasn't sure which way the FOMC was going to go. But I think I Am Gold is just one of the strongest stocks out there that I don't own. So now I've got everything except Heckler. I don't really need Heckler. I've got enough silver stocks. And also B2 Gold I don't have. And I mean, look at that one, right? That one's again, where we are in gold. You know where silver's going to go. You know how strong the miners have to catch up. And here we've got a fantastic, good dividend sounds stock. I mean, it's going to go all the way up here in 1 or 2 years. It's probably at 7, and here we are at 250. So I don't know if I buy that today. I don't like to buy it too close. Anyway, I don't want to get into individual miners too much. Although I am considering covering certain individual miners in my quick metals recap because I think you guys like that. But I can't think of one. They all did very well, right? They all did well. It's a big day. I think CDE, as usual, had one of the best returns. It's just typical. Look at that bullish engulfing perfection. Next up, 270, 370, of course. Some of these have so much move in them. I mean, look at this again, closed above the descending first majestic. Pan American silver, nothing special, but just bigger moves expected. The seniors, of course, don't move too much compared to the juniors, especially on days like today. But that makes sense. SSRM, by the way, was really weak compared to the others, but then started to outperform just below 4. So this one could finally start to move back up, maybe hit 5. This one's so much of a move left in this one. Anyway, there you go. I'll do my portfolio update in 2 days anyway, so I'll cover them then. But very exciting, more upside ahead. Beautiful.